The shovel hit bone with a sound like breaking china. Silas wiped sweat from his forehead and kept digging. 3 feet down in the monastery's back garden, and he'd found what Brother Aldrich had warned him about. The bone was long, curved like a rib, and definitely not from any animal that should be buried behind the herb beds. "Keep going," Brother Aldrich called from the stone steps. The old monk's voice carried across the courtyard with surprising strength. "All of it has to come up before Vespers." Silas drove the shovel deeper. More bones. A skull, human-sized but too thick. Vertebrae that didn't stack right. He'd been groundskeeper here for 6 months, and this was the first time they'd asked him to dig up what the previous groundskeeper had buried. The previous groundskeeper who'd left in the middle of the night, without taking his tools or his final pay. "Why are we digging this up now?" Silas asked, hauling out what looked like a femur with extra joints. "Because it's moving closer to the monastery," Brother Aldrich said, "and we have rules." Silas knew the rules. 3 of them, simple as breathing. Don't enter the bell tower after sunset. Always burn the clippings from the yew trees. Never disturb the stones in the meditation garden. He'd followed them without question since his first day here. The brothers paid well, asked few questions about his past, and let him work in peace. Until today. "Almost got it," Silas grunted, leveraging out what had to be the last piece. A spine, but one that twisted in directions that made his eyes water to follow. He tossed it onto the growing pile of bones beside the hole. Brother Aldrich walked over, his brown robes rustling against the flagstones. He was older than the other monks, maybe 70, with calloused hands that spoke of decades of manual labor. "Good work. Now we burn them." "All of them?" "Every fragment." They built the fire in the courtyard's center, far from any buildings. Silas arranged the bones like kindling while Brother Aldrich brought oil from the kitchen. The bone pile reached his waist, white and yellow pieces that didn't quite fit together, despite obviously belonging to the same creature. "What was it?" Silas asked as Brother Aldrich doused the pile. "Something that tried to follow Brother Matthias home." Brother Aldrich struck a match. 40 years ago. The bones caught fire immediately, burning with flames that danced blue and green. The smoke smelled like flowers rotting in summer heat. Silas stepped back, but Brother Aldrich stayed close to the fire, watching each bone turn to ash. "Brother Matthias brought it back from the village," Brother Aldrich continued. "Thought it was a stray dog at first. Fed it scraps from the kitchen. Then it started changing. Changing how? Growing new parts, losing others, getting smarter." Brother Aldrich prodded the fire with an iron poker. By the time we realized what it was, it had learned to mimic voices. Started calling to us from outside the walls at night, sounding like our mothers, our brothers, our friends from before we took vows. A piece of the skull cracked in the heat, splitting down the middle with a sound like thunder. Silas flinched, but Brother Aldrich didn't move. "We managed to kill it eventually," the old monk said. "Brother Matthias was good with a rifle, but killing something like that doesn't end it. The body kept trying to reassemble itself, so we buried it in blessed ground, said prayers over it every morning and evening, kept it quiet for 40 years. What changed? You did." Silas stared at him. "What do you mean?" "The creature was tied to Brother Matthias. When he died last winter, it started stirring again, looking for someone new to attach itself to." Brother Aldrich met his eyes across the fire. Someone who'd been showing kindness to animals around the monastery. Someone who'd been leaving food out for the cats and birds. Silas felt his stomach drop. He had been feeding the strays. Every evening after finishing his work, he'd leave scraps near the garden wall, just being decent to hungry animals. "It's been testing you," Brother Aldrich said. "Little things at first. A cat that follows you too closely. Birds that don't fly away when you approach. Did you notice anything unusual about them?" Silas thought back over the past few weeks. There had been a tabby cat that always seemed to be watching him work, a crow that perched on his shoulder while he tended the vegetables. He'd thought they were just friendly. They were never animals, Brother Aldrich said quietly. Parts of the creature, reaching out. Testing whether you'd accept its presence. The fire burned lower, the bones now white ash scattered by the evening breeze. Brother Aldrich stirred the embers with his poker, making sure nothing remained. "Why didn't you tell me?" Silas asked. "Because knowing about it makes you more vulnerable to it. The creature feeds on attention, on being acknowledged. We hoped burning its body would be enough." Brother Aldrich set down the poker. "But there's something else we need to tell you. About the curse." "What curse?" "The monastery has been here for 300 years. In all that time we've had 47 groundskeepers. 39 of them left in the middle of the night without explanation. 7 died in accidents around the grounds. 1 went insane and had to be committed to an asylum." Silas felt cold despite the heat from the fire. "And the curse?" "The groundskeeper always attracts things, not just this creature, but others. The position itself is cursed. We don't know why. Maybe it's because the groundskeeper spends the most time alone on the monastery grounds. Maybe it's because they're the only one who doesn't take religious vows. Or maybe it's simpler than that." "Simpler how?" Brother Aldrich kicked dirt over the last of the embers. "Maybe the things that hunt monasteries need someone on the inside. Someone to open doors, to break rules, to invite them in without realizing it." Silas looked around the courtyard. The monastery walls rose on all sides, built from gray stone that had weathered centuries of storms. Narrow windows looked down from the brothers' quarters, most already dark as evening approached. It had felt safe when he'd first arrived, a place to disappear from his old life, to find peace in simple work. "So what happens now?" he asked. "Now you have a choice." Brother Aldrich started walking toward the main building. "You can leave tonight, like most of the others did. Take your pay and find work somewhere else. We won't think less of you for it. Or you stay and help us fight whatever comes next." They walked through the monastery's main hall, past wooden pews worn smooth by decades of prayer. Stained glass windows caught the last light of day, casting colored patterns across the stone floor. Brother Aldrich led him to a side door Silas had never seen opened. "This is the armory," Brother Aldrich said, producing a key from his robes. "The church doesn't advertise it, but some monasteries were built for more than prayer and contemplation." The door swung open to reveal a room lined with weapons. Not ancient relics, but modern firearms, carefully maintained and ready for use. Rifles, shotguns, pistols, boxes of ammunition stacked on metal shelves, body armor hanging from hooks on the walls. "The brothers know how to use these?" Silas asked. "Most of us served in the military before taking vows. Brother Matthias was a sniper in Vietnam. Brother Cornelius spent 10 years with Special Forces. Brother Thaddeus was a demolitions expert. Brother Aldrich selected a shotgun from the rack, checking its action with practiced hands. We came here seeking peace, but we never forgot how to fight." "Fight what exactly?" "Things that hunt sacred ground, creatures that feed on faith, or try to corrupt it. This monastery sits on old land, Silas. Land that was holy long before Christians arrived. That draws attention." Brother Aldrich handed him the shotgun. It felt solid in his hands, well balanced and clean. "The ammunition is specially prepared. Blessed salt mixed with iron filings. It won't kill everything, but it'll stop most creatures long enough for us to use more permanent solutions." "More permanent solutions?" "Fire usually works. Sometimes we have to call in favors from other monasteries. Once we had to collapse a tunnel system that ran under the meditation garden." Brother Aldrich selected another weapon for himself, a rifle with a scope. "The point is, we don't run from these things. We deal with them." They returned to the main hall as the evening bell rang. Brothers filed in for vespers. their faces calm despite what had just happened in the courtyard. Brother Cornelius, a tall man with graying hair, nodded to Silas as he passed. Brother Thaddeus, stocky and broad-shouldered, gave him a slight smile. They knew. They all knew what they were dealing with, and they'd chosen to stay anyway. "Why?" Silas asked as the brothers took their places for prayer. "Why what? Why stay and fight? Why not just abandon this place and build a new monastery somewhere safer?" Brother Aldrich considered the question as the evening prayers began. The brothers' voices rose in harmony, Latin words echoing off stone walls. Because running doesn't solve the problem, it just moves it somewhere else. And because some things are worth protecting, even if it costs lives, especially then. After prayers, Brother Aldrich showed Silas to a new room. Not his usual quarters near the garden, but a cell in the main building, with thick stone walls and a heavy wooden door that locked from the inside. "You'll stay here tonight," Brother Aldrich said. "Windows are barred, walls are blessed, and there's a shotgun under the bed. Don't open the door for anyone until morning, no matter what you hear." "What am I going to hear?" "The creature's body is destroyed, but its influence remains. It'll spend tonight trying to find another way in, probably by mimicking voices or sounds that make you want to investigate." Brother Aldrich handed him a small silver cross. "Wear this. If it gets too heavy around your neck, whatever you're hearing isn't real." Silas took the cross, feeling its weight against his palm. "How do you know all this?" "Because I was groundskeeper here before Brother Matthias arrived, 45 years ago." Brother Aldrich smiled grimly. "I made the same choice you're making now. Most days, I don't regret it." "Most days?" "Some days, I remember what happened to the groundskeeper before me. Brother Francis. He tried to fight the creatures without help, without understanding what he was dealing with." Brother Aldrich turned to leave. "We found pieces of him scattered around the meditation garden, still moving, still trying to crawl back together." The door closed with a solid thunk, leaving Silas alone in the cell. He sat on the narrow bed, the shotgun across his knees, and listened to the monastery settle into night. Footsteps in the halls above, doors closing, the distant sound of Brother Matthias practicing organ in the chapel. Wait. Brother Matthias was dead, had been dead for months. Silas gripped the shotgun tighter and checked the cross around his neck. Still light, barely noticeable. So either the organ music was real, or whatever was making it had found a way past the blessed walls. He decided not to investigate. The music continued for an hour, familiar hymns played with skill and passion. Then it stopped, replaced by silence so complete he could hear his own heartbeat. No wind outside, no settling timbers, no small sounds of life in the walls. Something scratched at his door. Silas raised the shotgun, finger on the trigger. The scratching continued, rhythmic and patient, like claws on wood, but also like fingernails. Human fingernails. "Silas?" A voice from outside, muffled by the door. "Are you awake?" Brother Aldrich's voice. But Brother Aldrich had told him not to open the door for anyone. "I know you're in there," the voice continued. "I can hear you breathing. We need to talk." Silas checked the cross, still light. "There's been a development," Brother Aldrich's voice said. "About the creature. We found something in the ashes that changes everything." The cross grew heavier against his chest. "Please, Silas. Lives are at stake." The cross was pulling down now, the chain cutting into his neck. Whatever was outside his door, it wasn't Brother Aldrich. Silas stayed silent, shotgun ready, and waited for whatever came next. The scratching stopped. The voice fell silent. For a moment, he thought it was over. Then something began pounding on the door, not with fists, but with what sounded like rocks, heavy impacts that made the wooden door shudder in its frame. The pounding grew faster, more frantic, as if whatever was outside was running out of time. Silas retreated to the far corner of the cell, keeping the shotgun trained on the door. The pounding continued for 10 minutes, then stopped as suddenly as it had begun. In the silence that followed, he heard Brother Aldrich's real voice from somewhere deeper in the monastery. Calm, steady, saying evening prayers with the other brothers, not panicked, not urgent, just the normal rhythm of monastic life. Whatever had been at his door, it was gone now. Silas spent the rest of the night awake, watching the door, listening to the monastery's genuine sounds return one by one. Wind in the eaves, settling stone, the soft footsteps of brothers moving through their nighttime routines. When dawn came through the barred window, he finally set down the shotgun and tried to sleep. But every time he closed his eyes, he heard that voice calling his name. Patient, persistent, and absolutely convinced it could trick him into opening the door. He'd made his choice, though. He would stay and fight. The real work was just beginning. Morning came with the sound of the chapel bell calling the brothers to lauds. Silas rolled out of bed, muscles stiff from a night spent gripping the shotgun. The cross around his neck felt normal again, just a small weight of silver against his chest. Someone knocked on his door. 3 sharp raps, then a pause, then 3 more. The pattern Brother Aldrich had told him to listen for. "Silas? It's Brother Cornelius. You can open the door now." Silas checked the cross one more time. Light as air. He unlocked the door and found Brother Cornelius waiting in the hallway, already dressed for morning prayers. The tall monk looked him over with experienced eyes. "Rough night?" Brother Cornelius asked. "Something pretended to be Brother Aldrich. Tried to get me to open the door." "What gave it away?" "The cross you gave me got heavy when it spoke." Brother Cornelius nodded approvingly. "Good. The cross was Brother Francis's idea, actually. Before he died, he figured out that blessed silver reacts to spiritual deception. Saved a lot of lives over the years." They walked toward the chapel together, passing other brothers heading to morning prayers. Everyone looked normal, peaceful, like nothing had happened the night before. But Silas noticed details he'd missed before. The way Brother Thaddeus kept his right hand near a concealed pocket. The fact that Brother Matthias carried what looked like a rosary but was probably something more practical. The casual way Brother Ignatius scanned the courtyard as they passed through it. These weren't just monks. They were soldiers who'd found God. Or maybe soldiers God had found. "Brother Aldrich wants to see you after lauds," Brother Cornelius said as they reached the chapel doors. "In the meditation garden. I thought we weren't supposed to disturb the stones in the meditation garden." "We're not, but there's something there you need to see." The morning prayers felt different, knowing what Silas knew now. The Latin words carried extra weight, like they were doing more than just honoring God. They were claiming territory, marking boundaries, telling anything listening that this ground belonged to something greater than them. After lauds, Silas found Brother Aldrich waiting beside the meditation garden's entrance. In daylight, the garden looked peaceful. Carefully arranged stones formed patterns around small gravel paths. A few wooden benches provided places for quiet contemplation. It could have been any monastery garden, except for the feeling that something was watching from beneath the stones. "The garden has been here since the monastery was founded," Brother Aldrich explained. "Built over much older stones that were already sacred to people who lived here before us. We maintain it, but we don't change it." "What's under there?" "No one knows for certain, but sometimes, on quiet nights, you can hear movement, like something very large shifting around below the gravel." Brother Aldrich pointed to a section near the garden's center. 3 weeks ago, that area started sinking. Just a few inches, but enough to notice. Silas looked where he was pointing. The stones there sat lower than the ones around them, creating a subtle depression in the otherwise level surface. "We think the creature's death destabilized something underneath. Brother Aldrich continued, like it was holding something else in place. Something else? Something bigger. A chill ran through the morning air despite the bright sunshine. Silas looked around the monastery walls, suddenly feeling how isolated they were. Miles from the nearest town, surrounded by forests that seemed to stretch forever. If something went wrong here, no one would hear them scream. "That's why we need you to stay," Brother Aldrich said. "Not just because you're good at the work, but because you've already been touched by these forces. Like it or not, you're part of this now. Walking away won't change that." "What do you mean?" "The creature marked you when it started testing you. That mark doesn't fade just because you leave this place. Wherever you go, other things will sense it. They'll come looking for you, and they won't care who gets hurt in the process." Silas thought about his sister in Chicago, his few friends scattered across the country, people who had no idea what they might be dealing with if something followed him home. "So I stay and fight, or I put everyone I care about in danger. That's about the size of it, yes." Brother Aldrich turned to leave, then stopped. "There's one more thing. About the rules we follow here. You need to understand that they're not just guidelines. They're the only things keeping us alive. I haven't broken any of them. Yet. But the temptation will come. That's how these things work. They find ways to make breaking the rules seem reasonable, even necessary. When that happens, remember Brother Francis." What exactly happened to him? Brother Aldrich looked back at the meditation garden, his face grim. He thought he could handle things alone, thought the rules were holding him back from solving the real problem. So one night, he entered the bell tower after sunset, disturbed the stones in the meditation garden, and burned some hedge clippings instead of you. All 3 rules at once? All 3 rules at once. We found him the next morning, scattered across the garden like I told you. But here's the part I didn't mention. Brother Aldrich met his eyes. He was still conscious, still trying to speak. It took him 3 days to finally die. The weight of that settled over Silas like a heavy blanket. 3 days of agony, of being torn apart but unable to escape. All because someone had thought they knew better than centuries of hard-won wisdom. "The rules protect us," Brother Aldrich said. "Follow them exactly, no matter what happens. No matter who asks you to break them. No matter how good the reason seems." He walked away, leaving Silas alone beside the meditation garden. The morning sun was climbing higher, warming the stone paths and making the carefully arranged rocks gleam. It looked so peaceful, so harmless. But Silas could feel something watching him from beneath the surface. Something patient and old and very, very hungry. He headed back to his normal work, tending the vegetable garden and maintaining the grounds. But he kept the shotgun close, hidden beneath a wheelbarrow full of tools. And every few minutes, he found himself looking toward the bell tower, wondering what was up there that made it so dangerous after dark. By evening, he would find out. The real work was just beginning. Silas was raking leaves behind the chapel when the screaming started. Not human screaming. Something else, high-pitched and furious, coming from underneath the meditation garden. He dropped the rake and grabbed the shotgun from his wheelbarrow, checking the load as he ran toward the sound. Brother Cornelius reached the garden first, rifle in hand. Brother Thaddeus appeared from the other direction, carrying what looked like a grenade launcher. They formed a perimeter around the sunken area where the stones had been settling. "How long has it been making that noise?" Brother Cornelius called over the sound. "Started about 10 minutes ago," Brother Thaddeus replied. "Getting louder." The screaming stopped suddenly, replaced by a rhythmic pounding from below, like something massive hitting the underside of the garden with tremendous force. Each impact sent tremors through the ground, making the carefully arranged stones jump and scatter. Brother Aldrich emerged from the main building, moving faster than Silas had seen him move before. He carried a long metal rod, with strange symbols carved along its length. "Is it breaking through?" Brother Aldrich asked. "Not yet," Brother Cornelius said. "But the blessed stones won't hold it much longer." "What is it?" Silas asked. "The thing the creature was keeping contained," Brother Aldrich replied. "Something that's been trapped under this garden for 3 centuries. When we killed the creature last night, we broke the binding that kept it sleeping. The pounding intensified, and cracks appeared in the gravel between the stones. Something dark seeped up through the gaps, not quite liquid, but not solid either. It smelled like copper and rotting meat." "Options?" Brother Thaddeus asked, loading a shell into his weapon. "We contain it again, or we kill it," Brother Aldrich said. "Containing it requires a sacrifice. Someone has to take the creature's place as a guardian." "What kind of sacrifice?" Silas asked, though he suspected he already knew. "The kind where you don't walk away." The pounding stopped. In the sudden silence, they could hear something moving underneath the garden. Not random thrashing, but purposeful movement. Like something was testing the boundaries of its prison, looking for weak spots. "There's another option," Brother Cornelius said quietly. "We could evacuate the monastery, let it break free and deal with it later, when we're better prepared. And let it loose in the countryside?" Brother Aldrich shook his head. "We end this here." A stone near the center of the garden exploded upward, chunks of rock flying in all directions. Silas dove for cover as debris rained down around them. Where the stone had been, a hole opened in the ground. Not a natural hole, but something that had been torn through solid rock by immense force. Something climbed out of the hole. Silas had expected a monster. What emerged was worse. A man in tattered monk's robes, his face serene and peaceful. He looked like any of the brothers except for his eyes. Where his eyes should have been, there were holes that went deeper than any skull should allow. "Brother Matthias," Brother Aldrich said, "you're supposed to be dead." The thing that looked like Brother Matthias smiled. "Death is just another monastery, Aldrich. I've been serving there while you've been serving here. What do you want?" "What I've always wanted. To protect this place." Brother Matthias gestured to the monastery around them. "But the old ways aren't working anymore. Too many creatures getting through. Too many close calls. It's time for a more permanent solution. Which is, join them. Stop fighting what we can't defeat, and become part of something greater." Brother Thaddeus raised his grenade launcher. "I vote we skip the philosophical discussion and blow this thing back to whatever hell it crawled out of." "You can't destroy me with weapons, Thaddeus. I'm not really here." Brother Matthias looked directly at Silas. "But he can." "Me? You're the groundskeeper. This is your domain now. The rules bind you more tightly than they bind the others." Brother Matthias stepped closer, his empty eye socket somehow managing to convey intense interest. "Break the rules, Silas. Just once. Let me show you what lies beyond them." "Don't listen to him," Brother Aldrich warned. "Whatever he's offering, it's a trap." "Is it, though?" Brother Matthias turned back to Brother Aldrich. "How many groundskeepers have you lost, old friend? How many good people have died because you insist on following rules that don't work?" Silas felt something tugging at his mind. Not quite a voice, but a presence offering him knowledge. He could see into the bell tower, could understand what made it dangerous after sunset. He could see through the meditation garden to the vast network of caves beneath, filled with things that had been sleeping for centuries. He could see the truth about the yew trees, about why their clippings had to be burned. The rules weren't protecting them. They were protecting everything else from what lived in the monastery. "The creatures don't hunt this place," Brother Matthias continued. "They flee from it. This monastery was built as a prison, not a sanctuary. You're not monks, you're jailers." "That's enough," Brother Cornelius said, and fired. The bullet passed through Brother Matthias without effect, striking the stone wall behind him and sending up a shower of sparks. Brother Matthias laughed, a sound like wind through empty spaces. You see? You can't fight what you don't understand. But Silas understands, don't you? He looked at Silas again. You can feel it calling to you. The bell tower. Go there tonight after sunset. Ring the bell 3 times and I'll show you the truth about this place. Don't, Brother Aldrich said urgently. Whatever you're seeing, whatever it's showing you, it's a lie. But Silas could feel the truth of it. The monastery was wrong, built on something that should have been left alone. The brothers weren't protecting anyone. They were guards in a prison that was slowly falling apart, and the inmates were getting restless. I need to think, Silas said. Think quickly, Brother Thaddeus said, pointing to the hole in the garden. Because we've got company. More figures were climbing out of the ground. Not copies of Brother Matthias, but other things wearing human shapes. Some looked like former groundskeepers, others like visitors who'd never left the monastery. All of them had the same empty eye sockets, the same serene smiles. They're not real, Brother Aldrich said. Projections, memories given form, don't let them touch you. The figures spread out across the courtyard, moving with purpose. One that looked like a young man in work clothes approached Silas. You don't have to stay here, it said. You don't have to die like I did. How did you die? Silas asked. I tried to fight them instead of joining them. They tore me apart slowly, kept me conscious while they fed. The figure gestured to the others. All of us tried to fight. All of us failed. Brother Cornelius opened fire on the nearest figure, his rifle spitting flame in controlled bursts. The bullets passed through without effect, but the figures backed away from the muzzle flashes. Iron rounds blessed with holy water, Brother Cornelius explained. Won't kill them, but they don't like the consecrated metal. How long can you keep that up? Silas asked. Long enough to reach the armory, if we move fast. They fought their way across the courtyard, the brothers laying down covering fire while Silas stayed in the center of their formation. The figures followed, but kept their distance, seemingly content to herd them toward the main building. They're driving us inside, Brother Thaddeus observed. That's not good. Why not? Because inside, we can't retreat. They reached the armory and barricaded the door behind them. Brother Aldrich immediately began pulling weapons from the racks, handing out ammunition and equipment to anyone who could use it. What's the plan? Silas asked, accepting a bandolier of shells for his shotgun. We hold out until dawn, Brother Aldrich said. These things draw power from the darkness. When the sun comes up, they'll weaken enough for us to fight back effectively. That's 8 hours away. Then we'd better get comfortable. A sound echoed through the monastery, deep, resonant, coming from the direction of the bell tower. Not the normal evening bell, but something else. Something that seemed to vibrate in Silas's bones. What was that? He asked. Brother Aldrich's face went pale. Someone's in the bell tower. I thought the rule was not to go there after sunset. It is, but sunset was an hour ago. Another sound from the tower, this time recognizable as a bell being struck. Once, twice, 3 times. Each note seemed to hang in the air longer than it should, overlapping with the others to create a harmony that made Silas's teeth ache. Brother Ignatius was on watch duty tonight, Brother Cornelius said. He must have gone to investigate the noise from the garden. Or something made him go, Brother Thaddeus said grimly. The lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in immediately, bathing the armory in red light. But through the windows, Silas could see that the rest of the monastery had gone dark. No electric lights, no candles, not even starlight seemed to penetrate the darkness outside. That's not possible, Brother Cornelius said. We have backup generators, battery systems. Technology doesn't work when the bell rings, Brother Aldrich explained. That's why we have the rule about the tower. Whatever's up there doesn't play by normal rules. Something pounded on the armory door, not the rhythmic knocking from the night before, but frantic hammering. A voice called out, muffled by the thick wood. "Let me in! Please, they're coming!" Brother Ignatius's voice. But Brother Ignatius was supposed to be in the bell tower. "Don't open it," Brother Aldrich said. The pounding continued, joined by other voices, all of them familiar, all of them pleading to be let inside. Brothers who should have been in their cells, groundskeepers who had died years ago, even voices Silas recognized from his life before the monastery. "How are they doing that?" he asked. "They feed on memory," Brother Aldrich replied. "Yours, mine, everyone who's ever lived here. They know every voice that might convince us to open the door." "Silas!" His sister's voice now, clear and desperate. "I'm hurt. I need help." Silas took a step toward the door before Brother Cornelius grabbed his arm. "She's in Chicago," the monk reminded him, 1,000 miles away. The voices outside grew more frantic, more convincing. His father, dead for 10 years, telling him he was proud of what Silas had become. His ex-wife, apologizing for the divorce and begging him to come home. His childhood dog, somehow managing to speak, asking why he'd left. "This is psychological warfare," Brother Thaddeus said. "They're trying to break us down emotionally before they attack physically." "Is it working?" Silas asked. "On me?" "Number, I've heard this song before." Brother Thaddeus checked his weapon and moved to a window. "But they've got all night to try new verses." The bell tower rang again. 4 times now, each note deeper and more resonant than the last. With each ring, the voices outside grew clearer, more real. Silas could hear breathing, footsteps, even the sound of his sister crying. "What happens if someone actually opens the door?" he asked. "Find out in about 30 seconds, Brother Cornelius said, pointing to the door. The heavy wooden barrier was beginning to crack down the middle, not from the pounding outside, but from some kind of internal pressure, like something was growing inside the wood itself, splitting it apart from within. "That's new," Brother Aldrich muttered. "Plan B?" Brother Thaddeus asked. "We fight our way to the bell tower and stop whoever's ringing that bell, through an army of creatures that can't be killed by conventional weapons. You have a better idea?" Brother Thaddeus grinned, hefting his grenade launcher. "Actually, I do." He aimed at the far wall of the armory and fired. The explosion blew out a section of stone wall, creating a hole large enough to crawl through. Cold air rushed in from outside, carrying the sound of voices crying for help. "Alternative exit," Brother Thaddeus explained, loading another round. "Sometimes the direct approach is the only approach." They climbed through the hole into the monastery's herb garden. The darkness outside was absolute, but their tactical lights cut through it enough to see a few feet ahead. The figures that had been pounding on the armory door were nowhere to be seen. "Where did they go?" Silas asked. "Probably repositioning," Brother Cornelius said. "They know we're mobile now." Brother Aldrich led them along the wall toward the bell tower, moving in single file with weapons ready. The tower loomed above them, a black spire against the starless sky. Light flickered in the uppermost windows, orange and red like firelight. "Who do you think is up there?" Silas asked. "Does it matter?" Brother Aldrich replied. "Whoever it is, they're breaking the rules. That makes them our problem." They reached the base of the tower without incident. The door stood open, hanging from broken hinges. Scratch marks covered the wood, deep gouges that looked like they'd been made by claws the size of railroad spikes. "Brother Ignatius definitely didn't do that," Brother Cornelius observed. "No, but something wanted us to think he did," Brother Aldrich said. He shined his light up the spiral staircase that led to the bell chamber. "Single file, watch for traps. If something jumps out, hit the deck and let whoever's behind you handle it." They climbed in silence, weapons ready. The stairs were carved from the same gray stone as the rest of the monastery, worn smooth by centuries of use. Every few steps, Brother Aldrich would pause and listen, checking for movement above. Halfway up, they found Brother Ignatius. He sat on a landing, back against the wall, staring at something only he could see. His eyes tracked movement that wasn't there, and his lips moved in a constant stream of silent conversation. When Brother Aldrich knelt beside him, Brother Ignatius didn't respond. "Is he hurt?" Silas asked. "Mentally, yes. Physically, he seems fine." Brother Aldrich checked Brother Ignatius's pulse, then lifted one of his eyelids. "Pupils are dilated, but reactive. He's seen something that broke his ability to process reality." "What could do that?" "Whatever's in the bell chamber." They left Brother Ignatius on the landing and continued climbing. The sound of the bell grew louder with each step, but it wasn't the familiar bronze tone of the monastery's normal bell. This sound had a different quality, like metal screaming under stress. At the top of the stairs, they found another door. This one was intact, but covered in symbols that hurt to look at directly. Not carved into the wood, but burned there, as if someone had pressed red-hot metal against the surface. "Those aren't Christian symbols," Brother Cornelius said. "No, they're much older than that," Brother Aldrich replied. "Pre-Roman, probably. The people who lived here before us knew things we've forgotten." Brother Thaddeus examined the door frame. "It's not locked. Just pull it open and go in shooting." "That's the plan." Brother Thaddeus yanked the door open and dove to one side. Brother Cornelius and Brother Aldrich followed, sweeping the chamber with their weapons. Silas brought up the rear, shotgun ready. The bell chamber was larger than it should have been, not physically, but somehow, like looking into a room through the wrong end of a telescope. The monastery's bronze bell hung in the center, but it wasn't moving. The sound was coming from something else. A second bell hung beside the first, made from what looked like black glass. It swayed back and forth without anyone touching it, ringing out notes that seemed to bypass the ears and strike directly at the brain. Each time it rang, reality twisted slightly around the edges. "Where did that come from?" Silas asked. "It's always been here," said a voice from the far side of the chamber, hidden behind the real bell, waiting for someone to notice it. Brother Ignatius stepped into view, not the broken man they'd left on the landing, but a different version. This one moved with confidence, his eyes bright and alert. He wore the same robes, but they seemed cleaner, newer. "You're not Brother Ignatius," Brother Aldrich said. "I'm what Brother Ignatius could have been, if he'd accepted the truth instead of fighting it." The false monk gestured to the black bell. "This monastery was built to contain things, yes, but not to keep them imprisoned, to keep them safe." Safe from what? From the world outside, from people who would destroy them out of fear and ignorance. The false Brother Ignatius smiled. "The creatures you've been fighting aren't trying to escape. They're trying to protect themselves from what's coming." The black bell rang again, and Silas felt something shift in his understanding. He could see the monastery as it really was, not a prison, but a sanctuary. The things in the caves below weren't monsters, but refugees. The rules weren't meant to contain them, but to preserve the balance that let them coexist with the human world. "That's why the groundskeeper position is cursed," the false monk continued, "because the groundskeeper is the bridge between the two worlds, the person who decides whether to maintain the balance or break it." "And if I break it?" Silas asked. "Then the creatures will be forced to defend themselves, and humanity will lose." Brother Aldrich grabbed Silas's shoulder. "Don't listen to him. Remember, Brother Francis. Remember what happened when someone tried to break the rules." But Silas could see Brother Francis now, could understand what had really happened to him. He hadn't been torn apart by monsters. He'd been transformed, made into something that could exist in both worlds. The screaming they'd heard from his scattered pieces hadn't been pain, but joy. The joy of finally understanding. "Join us," the false brother Ignatius said. "Take your place as the guardian this monastery needs. Stop fighting what you're meant to become." Silas looked at the black bell, at the symbols burned into the door, at the 3 monks who'd spent their lives following rules they didn't truly understand. He thought about the creature they'd burned, about the things stirring in the meditation garden, about all the groundskeepers who'd vanished in the night. Then he thought about his sister in Chicago, about the towns and cities full of people who had no idea what lived in the spaces between their world and something else, about what would happen if the balance the monastery maintained really did collapse. "No," Silas said. He raised his shotgun and fired at the black bell. The blessed salt and iron rounds struck the glass surface and exploded in a shower of sparks. The bell cracked, then shattered, pieces falling to the chamber floor like drops of frozen night. The sound it had been making cut off abruptly, leaving only the normal ringing in their ears. The false brother Ignatius screamed, his form becoming transparent and then fading entirely. The chamber snapped back to its normal size, leaving only the original bronze bell hanging in the center. "Well," Brother Thaddeus said, "that was easier than expected." "It's not over," Brother Aldrich warned. "Breaking the bell just stopped the immediate threat. We still have to deal with whatever's stirring in the meditation garden." They climbed back down the tower stairs, collected the real Brother Ignatius from the landing, and made their way back to the armory. The monastery's lights had come back on, and the voices calling from outside had fallen silent. In the meditation garden, the hole that had opened during their fight was closing. Not naturally, but like a wound healing. The stones were sliding back into their proper positions, guided by some force that worked without human hands. The bell was keeping it open, Brother Cornelius observed. Breaking the bell let the natural barriers reassert themselves. "So it's contained again?" Silas asked. "For now, but the balance is still fragile. It'll take time for the barriers to fully strengthen." Brother Aldrich looked at him seriously. "That's why we need a groundskeeper who understands what he's protecting." "And if I leave?" "Then the next person we hire will go through the same trials you just went through, and maybe they won't make the right choice." Silas looked around the monastery grounds. In the morning light, everything seemed normal again, peaceful, like a place where good people could find refuge from a world that had become too complex and too dangerous. But now he knew the truth. This wasn't a refuge, it was a fortress, and he was being asked to stand guard on the walls. "The curse on the groundskeeper position," he said. "What is it really?" "The burden of choice," Brother Aldrich replied. "Every groundskeeper eventually reaches a moment where they have to decide between their own safety and the safety of everyone else. Most choose themselves. They leave in the night, or they try to change the rules, or they convince themselves that they know better than centuries of experience. And the ones who choose everyone else? They become part of the monastery's defenses, like Brother Francis did, in his own way, like I did, 45 years ago." Brother Aldrich smiled grimly. "Like you just did." "What do you mean?" "You could have listened to the false monk. You could have broken the rules and transformed into something that could live in both worlds. Instead, you chose to remain human and protect other humans." Brother Aldrich placed a hand on his shoulder. "That choice binds you to this place more surely than any chain." Silas felt the weight of that binding settle over him. Not oppressive, but solid, like putting on armor that fit perfectly. "So I'm stuck here." "No, you're home here. There's a difference." Brother Cornelius and Brother Thaddeus began cleaning up the debris from their fight, working with the efficient movements of men who'd done this before. Brother Ignatius sat on a bench in the courtyard, slowly recovering from whatever he'd seen in the bell tower. "What happens now?" Silas asked. "Now you learn the rest of your job," Brother Aldrich said. "The groundskeeper does more than maintain the gardens and fix broken tools. You become the monastery's early warning system, its first line of defense against things that don't belong in either world. And the monks? We continue doing what we've always done. We pray, we study, we prepare for the next time something tries to break through." Brother Aldrich started walking toward the main building. "But mostly, we trust that the groundskeeper will keep us safe." Silas spent the rest of that day repairing the damage from their fight. He filled in the hole in the meditation garden, reset the displaced stones, and cleaned up the debris from Brother Thaddeus's improvised exit. Normal work, the kind he'd been doing since he arrived at the monastery. But now he understood what he was really doing. Every stone he placed correctly helped maintain the barriers that kept two worlds separate. Every rule he followed helped preserve a balance that had taken centuries to establish. Every day he chose to stay was another day that people like his sister could live normal lives, never knowing what had been prevented on their behalf. That evening, after Vespers, he stood in the monastery's courtyard and looked up at the bell tower. The bronze bell was ringing the normal evening call, its familiar tone carrying across the valley. Through the windows of the bell chamber, he could see the empty space where the black glass bell had hung. Some secrets were worth keeping, some burdens were worth carrying, and some choices, once made, defined everything that came after. Silas picked up his tools and headed back to his quarters. Tomorrow there would be more work to do, more vigilance to maintain, more protection to provide. The monastery would continue its ancient mission, and he would be part of it. The curse of the groundskeeper position wasn't really a curse at all. It was a calling, and like all true callings, it chose the person as much as the person chose it. In the distance, something howled in the forest. Not threatening, just announcing its presence, letting the monastery know that the boundary between worlds was holding, and that both sides were content to leave it that way. For now. Silas smiled and went inside to clean his weapons. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new creatures testing the barriers, new choices to make. But tonight, everyone was safe. That was enough.